Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the My Football Writer YouTube channel. And welcome to a bit of a reaction video, not only about Norwich City's emphatic 5-1 win in the Emirates FA Cup third round against League Two Walsall, but also the absolutely just bemusing news about Josh Sargent and his withdrawal from the matchday squad from today, and talking about his own availability and about the news that there is a bid has come in from Toronto FC in the MLS of $18 million, works out at around 13.5 million in Great British pounds, but that's something that maybe could have its own video in all honesty, but felt like it's best to merge it all in. So let's start really with the game. We'll start with the game because that's really just, we can talk about it quickly and not exactly gloss over it, because Norwich scored 5 goals and just were brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you would expect them to be against League Two opposition. Of course, it's very easy to get a bit carried away with it and think, wow, what a great performance, more of that against Championship sides, apply some of the things. Norwich will get plenty of wins, they'll stay up in the Championship, they'll be okay. Let's not forget that they are very much still in the relegation fight. Portsmouth have got 2 games in hand on them, and that gap that is currently 1 point can open up, but let's not really sort of talk about Norwich's relegation battles in the Championship. Let's talk about the fact that they are through to the 4th round of the FA Cup. There was nothing really but positives to take from that game. The only dampener being the fantastic goal that Norwich conceded. And it's so annoying. The name of the player has escaped me. I believe his name was Charlie Clark. Or I think I've got that horribly wrong. Maybe I have, but really, and that's a shame, because I need to give credit to the goal Walsall scored. It was a brilliant goal, arguably the pick of the bunch of all the 6, and albeit it counted for nothing, it was a great goal. I can tell you very much, well, the player who scored it was playing for Eastbourne Borough in the National League South last season, so he's made the jump up 2 leagues, and he scored a great goal against a Championship team. So yeah, there's not much complaints from me that Norwich, yes, it's annoying to concede a goal when you was just in control of the game really from the moment they went 1-0 up. But yeah, that is the only negative. Norwich conceded a goal, but positives, my oh my, so many of them, just from listening to commentary and seeing glimpses of the game, just hearing so many individuals having good performances. Jovon, I mean, we're speaking about this boy every week and every video. He is just so good and just such a brilliant player for his age. He scored a hat-trick today, which takes his tally up to 12 goals for Norwich City this season in all competitions. Just truly phenomenal. And he didn't even play in the natural striker position. It was Matthias Kvistgården who was given the chance through the middle, didn't get a goal and didn't get too much involved in the attacking play, which is a shame, because he's had a very stop-start time at Norwich City. But Kvistgården, yes, he scored a couple of goals in the Championship, but you'd think against League Two opposition, this is the time where he can just showcase all of his quality and really just blow away the Walsall players and get himself a couple of goals and just get himself a bit more excitement around him, a bit more confidence. But you look at Makama, I mean, he's just outstanding. Not the fact Norwich signed him for a little over £1 million, and this is the return they're getting from him, is sensational. He did score a hat-trick in the FA Cup last season. He's done it again this season, but truly just such a great talent at 21 years old. I mean, we can only wax lyrical about what Jovon Makama is doing in a yellow and green shirt, especially since Philippe Clement arrived. He's just been Norwich's main man, and the main man who they had before, which we will go on to in a moment. It looks like Makama may have to step up and really be the main man, but he already has this season. We saw it with Sargent being unavailable with his concussion in that 3-match period, and Makama just took everything by the scruff of the neck, and he's just playing with such confidence and such belief in himself. You look at all of his goals, maybe earlier in his Norwich career or even in his Lincoln career, maybe with the goals he had, he would have looked to pass to a teammate, try and set someone up who he maybe thinks is in a better position, but all his goals, he just thrashes them into the back of the net. Just such great instincts from him, because he's so powerful, and he's of course so tall, 6'5", and a big frame. But he's so good at what an old school centre forward was good at. And there are shades of players from the 2000s and the 2010s there in Makama with his game style and just how lethal he is in front of goal. I want to say that's now 11 goals, I think, in 13 games. I may well have got that completely wrong, but since Philippe Clement has come in, I mean, it's just absolutely phenomenal what Makama has been doing. It's just fantastic. What a real bargain and talent Norwich have on their hands at the moment. Who there were many fans on Canary Corn on social media saying he'll play for England one day. He may well do, because this is his first season at a championship level. He scored 9 goals in the championship, 12 goals in all competitions. Now it's the best scoring season of his career. I think last season in all competitions he bagged it was either 10 or 11 goals. So we've played a little over half a season. He's doing better already. He's just phenomenal. Matej Jurasek as well scored his first Norwich City goal. He put them a goal up before Makama made it 2, 3 and 4. But Jurasek, delighted for him. Yes, again, we can go back to the point of, well, it is League Two opposition and Norwich controlled the game. You'd expect them to control the game. They did make 6 changes to their starting 11, but it was still really strong starting 11. Like, they put out a good team. Like, they weren't messing about today, Norwich and Philippe Clement. They went into the game with a mindset of, no, we need to get firing. This is the perfect game for confidence, because even though Walsall are having a really good season in League Two, if Norwich do get relegated, they could be playing Walsall in the league next season. But you just saw the golfing quality and how confident Norwich became, especially after Jurasek's goal. They just played with such freedom going forward and really just creating so many opportunities and just really neat play. Philippe Clement will be delighted with that, and with a fair few players with the performance. That's more what you expect in terms of from a Norwich team as of the last few years. Just confidence, attacking football, free flowing, and just scoring lots of goals. It's just great to see. I couldn't tell you the last time Norwich scored 5 goals in a game. So that's just phenomenal for them. It is great for confidence, especially for Jurasek getting that first goal. And of course, against QPR, did get an assist, and obviously had a really horrible start to life under Philippe Clement. Was hooked after 10 minutes after being a substitute against Oxford. Philippe Clement wasn't happy with the outlet and the effort being shown, and I think that finally has made maybe Jurasek himself realise, I need to get my game together here. I need to get my act on, and I need to be sharp, and I have to be better ultimately. And he has been better as of late. There is still a long way to go, I think, in terms of there's a lot of other things he needs to do before we properly see that the talent that Norwich got off Slavia Prague, who clearly had so much potential, and maybe it's gone down a bit, but he's starting to pick up now. He's looking more of a direct threat on the right-hand side. And many Norwich fans, of course, haven't, well, we've already signed Ali Ahmed, but there's the thing of Norwich now, they need more wide players, they need more wide attacking options. You look at Jurasek now, he's starting to maybe just make a case for himself. Yes, it's only a 2 or 3 game spell for him where he's looked promising, but it's better. Again, it's this case of Philippe Clement is maybe making these Norwich players better, and they know what's expected of them to be better, and they know that to get in the team, you've got to be at your very best, and you have to give your maximum effort. And it feels like we're seeing that a bit more with not only Jurasek, but a lot of other players. And what about Tony Springett scoring his first Norwich City goal? And he's been here for a long time. But again, Chris Gorham said on match commentary on Radio Norfolk, he didn't think there was a more popular goal scorer at the moment, and I can't really disagree with him. What a fantastic moment. Genuinely, what a fantastic moment. Scores his first goal for Norwich in front of the Barclay end, and even though it was 5-1 and it was pretty much the end of the game, literally one of the last few kicks, the celebrations, fans were delighted. I think that's the goal they celebrated. Well, they celebrated it the most. All his teammates, they were celebrating it like Tony Springett had just won Norwich the FA Cup. Jovon Makama, who scored a hat-trick, as I mentioned, he didn't go straight to the match ball at full time. He went to Tony Springett and he gave him a big hug, pat on the back. And every Norwich player was delighted for Springett, and the fans were as well, of course. Against Charlton on Boxing Day, there was the chance of walking in a Springett wonderland, and he looked delighted to hear that, and he was playing with a smile on his face, and he has been better as of late. I mean, again, it's quite amazing. A player who has been at Norwich for quite a fair few years, never really got a look in, and when he did play, he didn't impress. Had loan spells at Derby and Northampton, didn't impress in them either. But it's been a rough 18 months for him. He said in an interview with Chris Gorham, he's been out with a back injury and spinal issues, and it's really been a rough time for him in the last 18 months, but he's playing with confidence and a smile on his face, and that's what more can you ask for from a player? That he gives his maximum effort, he runs himself into the ground, whether it's a substitute appearance or it's a start. He's giving a lot of effort and he's improving, and that's what you want to see, especially for a player who's come up through the academy. And Norwich, of course, have a bit of a knack for getting players out of their academy and getting them on and getting them to do good things. So it's great. So much just people in performances you can be delighted for. McCarma scoring a hat-trick, continuing that great form in front of goal. Jurasek's first goal for the club. Tony Springett's first goal for the club. It's great. So much positives and a great day until around 5 o'clock this evening and hearing the news about Josh Sargent. So this is what we're going to move on to now. We've spent about 10 minutes speaking about the game. We need to speak a little bit here about Josh Sargent. It was said by Philippe Clement in an interview with Chris Gorham after the game for BBC Radio Norfolk. Josh Sargent did send a text to Philippe Clement the day before the game, so yesterday, saying that he wanted to withdraw his availability for the game. And in Philippe Clement's words, it was because of transfer stuff. Now, that only ever means one thing. We saw it with Jonathan Rowe when Norwich played Oxford United on the first day of last season. 20 minutes before the team meeting, he goes up to Johannes Torup and says, with all this transfer speculation, I'm not in a good headspace. I can't play today. My mind's not right. I need to give myself a day. I need to settle and just take some time, but I can't play and I don't want to be in the team anymore. Josh Sargent effectively has done the exact same thing. The day before, it's unprofessional. In all honesty, like me and you who work day jobs, texting our manager the day before that when we're expected and we can't really go in anymore, you know what, that's fair. It's fair enough because in a normal walk of life, you would do that. In football, though, it's a little bit different. It's different. You can't really just say that because some other team is interested in you and you're hearing about this, you don't want to play in the game. That's not on. They're clearly he's being ill-advised by his agent or someone else. Maybe, who knows? Maybe it's his family who are saying about this, and maybe they're the ones who are saying, well, it's Toronto who have come in. That of course is in Canada. The United States is where Josh Sargent is from. It's a neighbouring country. He can hop on a flight and, well, he can even drive over the Canadian border to America if he wants and see his family in Missouri and get back with everyone. And of course, the World Cup is in Canada, USA, Mexico in the summer. So maybe if he has a good little spell with Toronto, it will get him in the eyes of the USA manager, and he can get in the team and he can maybe play at a World Cup. Of course, maybe the MLS is a little bit of a weaker league than the Championship, and Sargent, we all know how good a player he can be in the Championship. So who's to say he can't go and be a very good player in the MLS? And so that's the big, really big news from today. It's not McCarma scoring a hat-trick. It's not Springett and Jurasek getting their first goals. It's the big negative of the day. And it's no surprise because you just can't really do that. It's really, really poor. And it's a little bit of a scummy thing to do, to say to a manager the day before you're playing a game, oh, well, there's transfer speculation in me. I don't want to play. That, to me, and to anyone, to any Norwich fan, as you can see from reactions on social media, and of course, I'm sure you'll see videos from not only us, but loads of Norwich City fan channels, and maybe even pundits who do videos about the Championship. That only means one thing, and that is that Josh Sargent does not want to play for Norwich City anymore. That's how I see it. For me, if you're put, I get it. In a way, I can understand maybe why, because you're thinking, oh, it's a League Two team, FA Cup, we'll beat them. I'm probably not going to start anyway. I'll come off the bench and I'll maybe get a goal off the bench. Like, I can somewhat see it in that respect, that it's not the biggest and hardest game for you, but you still really shouldn't do it. If you really thoroughly want to stick with your own team and the fans through a hard time, you would. You think of how long Norwich fans stuck out with Josh Sargent. You look at his first Premier League season. He scored against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. He scored 2 goals. He then did not score until Norwich played Watford, I want to say in November. And then after that, in the Premier League season, he did not score again. His next goal for Norwich came in the August after, when it was in the Championship. And in the Championship, he's been brilliant. And Norwich fans completely changed their opinions on him. In his first half of his Premier League season as Norwich player, he got absolute dog's abuse. And maybe it was somewhat justified because the performances weren't there. He wasn't playing well. It looked like a bit of a waste of money from Norwich, and that they had bought this really just weak and sort of gangly centre forward who wasn't suited to English football. But then you look at, and then he had the summer before the Championship. He looked bigger, he looked stronger. He evidently knew what he was in for, and he needed to be stronger to help his game, and it did. And he's been Norwich's best striker, bar Timu Pukki, I'd argue, since Grant Holt left, or maybe Cameron Jerome left. You think of Norwich strikers since maybe the turn of the 2010s. Sargent is right up there in the conversation as one of their best strikers. So Norwich fans think so highly of this guy, and he spoke so highly of the football club. And even in the hard seasons, last season, he said, I just really want to get promoted with this football club. But he's chucked that all out of the window. And maybe it's because he's thinking it's a way worse season than what was expected. Any Norwich fan can tell you that, but that's not on. You can't just decide out of nowhere, yeah, I'm done now. I've done my bit for this club. The people love me. I'm going to go down as highly regarded. Because with this, you throw that away. You completely throw it all away. Your reputation as a cult hero and a little bit of a legend from Norwich fans. We all love Josh Sargent, of course we do. But with this news, you're not going to think highly of him anymore, are you? Because you would never think highly of a player who out of nowhere has decided he doesn't want to play a game for your club because another team wants him and he wants to be at this other club. And as I mentioned earlier, it is Toronto who have come in, $18 million bid that has come in from the MLS side. That comes out to roughly about £13.5 million. That was reported by Fabrizio Romano. But then it's interesting because in Chris Gorham's words with Philippe Clement and even the Pinken's words, Philippe Clement has come out and said, well, he knows this scenario. Him and his agent know that he's not going to leave the club in this transfer window. But why would you say that? Because if they did know he wasn't going to leave, why would he then take the action of hearing about a transfer rumour and a bid that's come in and then decide he's not going to play? I think Clement there, is just trying to save Sargent any little last bit of reputation. I mean, it may well be that is the case and that's what they want. But with how that has gone down, I don't really think Clement is telling the truth there. I mean, it's somewhat obvious that is not the case. It can't be, because how can a player set in Clement's own words, because of transfer stuff, he doesn't want to play, but then you're saying that they know the scenario and he's not going to leave the club? That doesn't work. That something's not right there. That there's evidently one viewpoint from Clement, there's a viewpoint from Sargent, and they're not the same. One clearly wants to go. That is it. Just straight up, Sargent clearly wants to leave Norwich, because why else would you say yourself, it's transfer stuff that's affecting me, I don't want to play? We saw it with Jonathan Rowe. We heard that. He did not play for Norwich again. He got sent to the under-21s, basically, to go and train with them before he then made his move to Marseille, which ended up poorly for him because he didn't work out at Marseille, now at Bologna. It's not really working out at Bologna, but we're going to see a similar thing here because Josh Sargent clearly doesn't want to play. He clearly hasn't got an interest in playing for Norwich anymore, which just highlights, as I mentioned earlier, there's just a massive contrast between how football fans of a player and a club will stick with you and give you just unlimited support in hard times and will back you through any amount of stick you get. But as a player, you can just, at the first attempt, you can clear off and you don't return that. The only player I can genuinely think of who gave it for Norwich was Max Aarons. He was perfect example. All transfer rumours, he never once said anything, never pulled himself out of a squad availability, and he kept playing and he kept going until he left, and he always gave everything. But Josh Sargent is clearly not that type of individual from this news. So I would not be surprised to see a post from either Fabrizio Romano or the Pink 'Un or Norwich themselves that in the coming days, Josh Sargent is no longer a Norwich City player, because this only ends one way. We've seen it last season. You all know how it's going to end, and Josh Sargent will not be a Norwich player. Maybe he will. Maybe this all goes out the window, but for what I see it at face value, and a lot of Norwich fans see it at face value, despite the conflict of he's not playing because of transfer stuff, but he's not going to leave. We all see it. We know that Josh Sargent is probably not going to be a Norwich City player for much longer. But there are, they always say every cloud has a silver lining. In a way, Norwich getting £13.5 million, that's good because they are in a relegation battle. They need money to sign some more players who can help get them out of this relegation battle and keep them in the Championship. And Philippe Clement can bring in players that maybe he wants with that extra bit of money that maybe he couldn't afford right now. So that's a good thing as well. We've already waxed lyrical about Jovon Makama. He has adapted to the Championship really well, and he's playing out of his skin at the moment. And he is better as a centre forward than he is out wide. That is obvious. You saw it against Stoke. He was really poor out wide. Yes, he played out wide today, but then again, it's the point of, he was playing against League Two opposition, but he was playing on the left, cutting in on his right foot, which is a benefit. But that is really the big thing right now, that Norwich necessarily don't really have to go and sign a striker, because Makama is playing brilliantly. Chris Gordon can maybe get a few more chances up front because there's less competition if Sargent goes. But Norwich can use the money to sign players if they want to and they feel like they need to. And they've got a striker there who, at the moment, in terms of form, is better than Josh Sargent at the moment. Not overall, of course, and maybe not a better player than Sargent is. I'm not necessarily suggesting that. But on current form, and since Philippe Clement has come in, Jovon Makama has been Norwich's best forward player. There is no doubt. He's currently a better threat and a better goal outlet than Josh Sargent is. So that's what I have to say about it, basically, and my thoughts on the whole scenario. I think it's a really, really poor thing to do. I think it's a weak excuse to not play a game, and he's tarnished a big reputation there because he's not reflected the loyalty to the fans and the club that the club and the fans have given him. That's what I have to say. But yeah, that's basically it, really, for the video. So let us know. Well, I would say let us know your thoughts on the game and how you think Norwich performed. And it's great that they're in the next round of the FA Cup. Who do you want in the FA Cup? That's the big question. Who do you want Norwich to play? And can they maybe distract a little bit of a poor season with a good cup run? Who knows? But we'll have to wait and see. But the main thing is, what are your thoughts on this Josh Sargent fiasco? Made himself unavailable because of transfer stuff. Toronto have come in, and it looks like he could be playing in the MLS very, very soon. But that is all for today in this video on the My Football Writer YouTube channel. We hope you've enjoyed it. As I say, let us know all your thoughts on everything we spoke about in the comments below. And we'll see you all for the next video of ours here on MFW.